So the Sixers world has been on fire today as there have been reports circulating around KD and his potential trade destinations. Now the Sixers apparently being named as a landing spot, but is this actually realistic? We will break it all down on today's show. Let's go.
Perfect.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome into Philly Take with RB, number one show providing the passion to the fans, always breaking it all down. I'm RB. Hit that thumbs up button, help push this content around. Be sure to subscribe to the show and hit that bell so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. Today, we are back and there's a lot of chatter, a lot of things going on, a lot of explosion surrounding these reports, and people are talking. People are talking, and that is right, about Kevin Durant. Could he actually come to the Sixers? We will break it down. But first and foremost, earlier today, the main thing that kicked it all off was Ian Begley of SNY putting out an article talking about the update on Kevin Durant. He discussed the Boston Celtics, and as you can see, he throws in here the Philadelphia 76ers interest in Durant. As you break down the article more, he essentially said that there hasn't really been any updates in terms of progress on a trade between the Celtics or the Sixers, but he did throw out some different circumstances and some different ideas. And one of the big things that people have run with from this article is this. KD, as Ian Begley says in his piece, views the Sixers as a, quote, desired landing spot, along with the Boston Celtics. Now, who knows about the sources? Who knows if it's true? I don't know if he said this, if he hasn't. Obviously, we broke down what is going on this past weekend where KD was spotted with James Harden. Now people are making that tie and that correlation. But it is definitely interesting. And this led to a domino effect. We look at Sixers reporter, shout out to my guy, Austin Krell. He puts this out a little bit later in the day, says, did some due diligence, can confirm that Kevin Durant has interest in playing for the Sixers. Okay, interesting. And then we get Frank Isola, another NBA writer and TV personality. He says this, it's hard to follow at times, but yes, Kevin Durant would like to play with James Harden, who was in London with Durant around the time KD met with the Nets ownership. Maybe Harden, an expert at forcing trades, is serving as an advisor. Well, Harden's been here for what? 6 months at this point or whatever it's been. And now, one off season under his belt, and he's out here recruiting people. He's out here getting guys to want to come here. Look, all I'm going to say about this is we need to think logically about this. I'm going to tell you right now, I'll keep it concise, okay? Is Kevin Durant to the Sixers a realistic possibility? The answer is no. I'm here to tell you, no sources about it. I'm here to tell you right now, he is not going to come to the Sixers. As much as I would like that, as much as I could see that dual threat of a force of KD and Joel Embiid, it's just not going to happen. And here's why. By the way, KD is a heck of a ball player, as I said here on Twitter. Be sure to follow me at RB Philly Take. Don't let that toxicity of the Brooklyn Nets fool you, okay? KD can ball. He's 34 years old, but he is one of the greatest players ever, one of the greatest talents ever. He can ball, man. He can ball. Now, the availability, missing some games, that is definitely a concern, but he can still play. But here's why it will not get done. Daryl Morey will not trade Tyrese Maxey. I don't see that happening. He's had chances to do it before, with the whole Kyle Lowry trade, even this past year with Brooklyn. Daryl Morey is intent on keeping Tyrese Maxey. We've heard it even in rumors about Bradley Beal. Daryl Morey does not want to move the young phenom who looks like he has a lot of superstar potential written on the wall. And obviously Philadelphia has really catered to Tyrese Maxey. Not only his play, but his personality, the way he handles himself at 21 years of age, the massive jump he took from year one as a bench player to year two, first year as a starter. The kid looks like he's going to be really, really good one day. That's really the main reason why it's not going to happen. And also, you would need to give up a king's ransom to get Kevin Durant. Do the Sixers really have an enticing package other than Tyrese Maxey that Brooklyn would look at and say, okay, this is our best offer, in terms of trading KD to another Eastern Conference rival, especially when we just traded James Harden to them and got a guy who still hasn't stepped on the floor. So, I mean, this is definitely something we need to think about. If I had to give you a proposed trade off the top of my head, it would have to start at something like Tyrese Maxey, Matisse Thybulle, Tobias Harris for salary reasons, and probably like 2 to 3 first-round picks. That is just me ballparking it off the top of my head. But there would probably be more, and there'd be a bunch of stuff that needs to get worked out. Similar to the Sixers, the Nets don't have a lot of ownership with their picks coming up, and they definitely need assets. But then again, where is the Nets franchise? Like, they have Kyrie Irving, they have Ben Simmons. My prediction is that they're going to end up trading for a semi-all-star and try to play it up, try to tout it as another big three, but I don't think that'll work, especially given the availability of guys like Kyrie Irving and Ben Simmons. But anyway, Daryl Morey, like I said, is not going to trade Tyrese Maxey, and it really comes down to this. The Nets are not going to want to entertain the Sixers as a trade partner. I just don't believe that. Now, there have been talks about Boston. Obviously, that would probably be tough for them to do as well. But when they look at a guy, say, like Jaylen Brown, that's a player that they can plug in and try to play alongside Kyrie Irving and Ben Simmons. In terms of the Sixers, though, I've heard a lot of, I would say, asinine takes from some of our fans today. I'll be honest. I always give it how I see it. And I don't want to get caught up in this. If there was ever a way that Kevin Durant could come to the Sixers again, I don't believe it'll happen. If there was ever a way it could happen, you have to be willing to throw anything on the table outside of Joel Embiid. And look, I'm becoming a Maxey stan. I love Tyrese, okay? That kid works. He is going to be great. I understand that. But some of the takes I'm seeing, Kevin Durant's 34. He can't, he's a quitter. He can't play. I don't agree with that. Kevin Durant is one of the best talents ever. He can give you 35 at least on any given night. And when you think about Kevin Durant and Joel Embiid, let me ask you this. Try to come up with a proposed game plan to stop those two. How do you do that? Well, here's the answer. You don't. That's even taking Harden out of the equation. How do you stop Kevin Durant and Joel Embiid? You just don't. If you ever had an opportunity to pair those two together, I mean, that would be unfair. That would be the craziest duo maybe ever. And I understand. People love Tyrese Maxey. I love Tyrese Maxey. It would be hard. It would be hard to part with that. I don't think it'll ever come to it, but you would have to be willing to put everything on the table to get a guy like Kevin Durant. And when you look at his situation and when you look at everything that has transpired in Golden State, he went there. Obviously, that was a questionable decision, joining a team like that, but he ended up winning. He was the best player on those teams. And then he went to Brooklyn. And like I said, don't let it fool you, man. I mean, he had to deal with a lot of stuff there. A teammate who got out right before the whole thing plummeted. Then another guy who promised to be his man, his right-hand man, and never even showed up for most of the games. And then Ben Simmons, who won't even step on the floor. And we've heard all this stuff about him, and we know about that, right? So, I don't know. I mean, it is interesting to ask out of a place with, 3-4 years on a contract left, but, KD doesn't believe in that ownership. He doesn't believe in that team. And if you ever had a shot to pair him with Joel Embiid, people keep saying, well, we have an entire career of Tyrese Maxey. That is true. We have a long future, hopefully here in Philadelphia, for Tyrese Maxey. But the real question is, how long does Joel Embiid have? How long does James Harden have, right? You want to optimize. You want to win. And if you ever had a chance to get KD, I mean, we're finals contenders. We're finals favorites at that point. You're getting a guy right now will put up 30, 40 a game. I mean, it would just be ridiculous. And I just don't see a way that the Nets would ever feed into that unless they're willing to wait and build around Tyrese Maxey. But then again, they already have Kyrie Irving. So who knows what they are going to do. But yeah, it's a lost hope. It's funny. People will talk about it for weeks and we'll sit here and we'll debate about the best KD spots and the best KD trades and all this stuff. I really don't know what's going to happen because as I've, said many times now, I've stood on this ground. KD cannot go back to Brooklyn. He will get traded, and if they don't trade him, I just don't see him amending it with that team. He will wait. He will wait until he is traded. The players have all this power now. They can just sit out and pout until they get moved. And obviously, we've seen that firsthand. So I don't know what's going to happen. I hope he doesn't get traded to a team within the East. It would be crazy, though, if he reunited with James Harden, especially with all this, surrounding news and latest things that we've seen, with them hanging out in London and KD, Harden, and Embiid. That would just be nuts. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. You let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Could KD ever come to the Sixers? And would you include Maxey in a trade? Give me all your thoughts. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and like always, I will catch you on the next one. Peace.
Perfect.